I made a meme that accidentally went viral, and that's a problem because I think there's a lie in it. Here's a short timeline of events. June 8th, 2002. I'm 10 years old, and the first live-action Scooby-Doo movie hits theaters across the US. Just look at my innocent wonder. Now, around 20 minutes into the film is where I heard this line for the first time.
I'm looking for clues as to who's behind the strange behavior of the students.
Well, here's a clue. Purple is a fall color. It's the middle of May.
Pardon?
Yeah, I didn't fully understand it. I mean, I knew it was a joke about fashion, but I was 10. I didn't know anything about that. I thought the coolest you could look was wearing a short sleeve shirt over a long sleeve shirt. And I was right. So it ruminated in my brain until May 15th, 2022. I'm 30 years old, and for some unknown reason, this line has carved a permanent place in my brain for the last 2 decades. Realizing at the time that it was literally the middle of May, I think to myself, innocently, that it would be funny to post this joke as a meme on Twitter. Twitter is a website we used to have for fun things. There was a problem, though. But I don't know, I guess I'm the only person who has thought about this joke for like 20 years because I searched and I searched, but nobody had made a meme of it. So I made my own, and at 8:04 p.m., I posted it saying, "Today is a day you can tweet this." As far as I was concerned, my job was done, and I went to bed fully clothed, like I always do, only to be surprised by May 16th, 2022. I'm still 30 years old. My birthday is in August, so I wake up to my phone blasting me with an endless scroll of notifications, hundreds of thousands of notifications, even from apps to which I did not post the meme. Apparently, the man who wrote this movie, and presumably this exact line, saw my cute little meme appreciating his joke and reposted it across all of his social accounts. And in case you weren't aware by now, the writer of these live-action Scooby-Doo films is DC's own, Marvel's own, James Gunn. I do not know how he found it, but the way that the tagging system works on Instagram means that, technically speaking, James Gunn slid into my DMs. Or should I say, slithered into my DMs. Look, I don't need to impress you, all right? I already impressed James Gunn, so what am I gonna get greedy? It's only been 2 years since, but I still tweet this image out every May 15th, and other bigger meme accounts also steal it. Without fail, one of my friends or family members will see this meme out in the wild and send it to me thinking that I would appreciate it. And they are right, but they also didn't know that I birthed it from my own loins. Yeah, but that's fine. The bigger issue is that I keep getting bombarded with replies and comments from people insisting that this single joke from a 20-year-old children's movie is wrong for like a bunch of reasons. And if all of those people are gonna take it that seriously, then so am I, obviously. I don't want to spread misinformation on the internet by way of James Gunn. So I have spent the last month of my finite time on Earth researching this question. Is purple a fall color? I didn't think it would be complicated to answer, but you've seen the runtime of this video. You know what you signed up for. So let's start with the first part. Is purple really an autumnal hue? Now, I thought this would be an easy one to debunk. Honestly, you watching this video probably already think that's ridiculous. If there is a season that I would associate with the color purple, it would be either winter with a dark, cool midnight violet, or spring with a warm, faded pastel lavender. And we'll talk about why those associations exist in our heads later, but the point is, purple is not a fall color. I thought wrongly, like a clown. Here's the thing. I bought this jacket specifically for this video. I was looking for a men's purple spring jacket. But for some reason, those don't exist. You know what do exist? Purple jackets specifically and exclusively labeled for fall. According to Men's Fashion, purple is a fall color. I don't know, maybe part of it is just that there seems to be a lack of purple clothing for men in general. Like, for example, there's this creator I follow, Parker York Smith, who did modern takes of the whole Scooby-Doo gang's fashion, and he saved Daphne for last because purple is his favorite color. However,
I was thinking about how I wanted to put this outfit together, and it made me realize I don't have nearly enough purple clothing.
A style influencer who's been collecting clothing for 15 years hardly has any purple clothing, even though it's his favorite color. And I get it. I had to buy this jacket from a company in India, and it definitely wasn't built for my long monkey arms. But right now, as I film this, it is literally the middle of May. Should I not be wearing this purple jacket? I mean, I will wear it for the rest of the video because I need to write it off on my taxes, but should it be a different color? I'm even more confused now. What does it even mean for a color to be associated with a season? Don't laugh, that's how far behind I am on this stuff. Well, if you've spent any amount of time on TikTok recently, and I haven't, but my wife does and tells me about it, you know how big the trend of personal color analysis is. In short, personal color analysis is a system or multiple systems of color theory designed to help individuals identify the colors of clothing and cosmetics that harmonize with their natural skin complexion, eye color, and hair color. These systems typically stem from the idea of color seasons, a concept credited to Swiss painter and art professor Johannes Itten, who ran a lot of admittedly non-scientific experiments with his students' work that suggested that certain colors and color combinations are inherently associated with seasons of the year. Like, just look at these, right? You know which seasons each one of these represents. Even these, right? Maybe a little harder this time, but I feel like I intuitively get it. There are loads of creators who discuss color seasons regarding fashion, including whole businesses dedicated to helping people find their personal color season. And I got to talk with one of them and ask her about a meme that I made.
My name is Essie Priest. I go by Styling by Priest on all platforms, and I am an image consultant. I personally go by Style Philosopher, which means I use concepts from style theories such as color seasons, kibby body types, and my own system, reflective styling, to help people better understand how they look and also better understand ways to dress in order to get the outcome that they want.
So how did you first get into fashion, in style, and how did you start your sort of online presence?
Yeah, so I have autism, and style theory is definitely like a special interest of mine. I also, my whole life, I've done musical theater, so I got really into understanding wardrobe and how it can help with self-expression.
That is when I knew if there was anyone who could help me break down this fashion joke from a film which, like theater, have intentional costume choices, this was the person. The live-action Scooby-Doo movie from 2002. Have you seen it? Are you aware of it?
Of course I've seen it. Scooby-Doo was definitely big for me growing up.
Oh, excellent. In this movie, there is a character who approaches Daphne and basically says, you know, purple is a fall color. It's the middle of May. Is there something to it? I want to read into it. What are your takeaways from this minor, like, inoffensive joke that I'm reading too much into?
So the concept behind color seasons is to wear colors that are similar to your natural coloring. For example, like, I'm cool and muted. I look best in cool and muted colors according to color seasons.
I would love to know what factors determine like an individual's color season.
Yeah, good question. So everybody has a natural personal palette that they are already working with. That's your hair, your skin, your eyes, like your lips and the way that you blush. But the most important factor is your skin. And then the kind of descriptors that we want to break down to understand our color season is contrast. So that would be like, if I were to go into black and white, the difference between how dark this is versus how light this is. You can have high or low contrast. Undertone, which is how warm or cool you lean. And then chroma, which is how bright or saturated or pure a color is. And once you have all of those broken down, you can logically get your color season, but the way that we actually find it is by draping, having color, like holding colors up to your face and seeing which ones make you look clear and bright or which ones maybe like emphasize imperfections in your skin. So the way that I explain this is melody, harmony, and dissonance. So color seasons is trying to find your melody. So colors that are most similar to your own. And I find cartoons to be one of the easiest ways to understand the concepts of color seasons because it's like intentionally designed. I've gone through and I found the color seasons of each of the original animated characters.
Oh my goodness.
And of all of the live action characters and of the actors that play them, because the actors don't have the same color seasons as their characters.
Yes, I would love this. Oh, this is above and beyond beyond what I was expecting you to do. This is amazing. But we're getting ahead of ourselves here. How did we go from the broad idea of color seasons in art to the more personalized use of color seasons in fashion? You're never going to believe this, but it's because of the same guy, Johannes Itten, all the way back in the 1920s. And you are so lucky that I'm only starting back that far in history, all right? The original draft of this video began my discussion of color theory with Isaac Newton doing his Pink Floyd experiment, which was back in the 1600s. I learned so much about color history, and you're not gonna see any of it. So along with coining the color seasons and also creating the modern color wheel that every elementary school art class teaches, yeah, it's the same guy, Itten also pushed the idea of personal color harmony. As he explained in his seminal work, The Art of Color, he asked his students to create abstract works using any hues that they personally found pleasing. Left to their own intuition, they all found different color combinations that appealed specifically to them. Itten realized with astonishment that each student instinctively had their own private concept of color harmony, whether they knew it or not. And when his students painted with their personal colors, Itten said they came alive. And I need to clarify here, he's not talking about their art coming alive, although that could also be argued. He's specifically recalling a student who herself came alive and gained self-confidence upon finding her personal color qualities. This is what he called subjective color, which when combined with what he believed were the objective colors in his concept of color seasons, became the foundation of personal color analysis. Unfortunately, this is already where a lot of misunderstandings and misconceptions about color analysis comes in, but we'll talk about that later. After discussing this relationship between subjective and objective color in his book, Itten lists a lot of practical examples for this knowledge outside of his painting students: interior decorators, designers, florists, and salespeople. And then he writes one single sentence that people really latched onto.
Every woman should know what colors are becoming to her. These will always be her subjective colors and their complements.
Now, Itten was flip-flopping between pronouns for his examples, so it's unclear if he thought only women should be concerned with what colors look best on them personally, but I'll be charitable here. The guy literally wrote the book on color. He wanted everyone to be more thoughtful about it. Either way, while he didn't explicitly say it, to my knowledge anyway, readers interpreted this line and the overall concept of subjective color as a conclusion that our personal palette, the one to which we are drawn naturally, consists of the very colors that look best on us. From here, the concept of personal color analysis started building and growing throughout the cosmetics industry and the fashion industry and the film industry. Remember when this video was about a Scooby-Doo meme?
Purple is a fall color. It's the middle of May.
It doesn't actually have a correlation with like what time of year it is, because your season will stay the same your whole life. So like saying it's the middle of May would not be drawing on color seasons.
Okay, so a literal interpretation of this guy's critique doesn't really hold up. In fact, each year when I post this meme, I get a lot of replies about how purple, and even the specific pinkish purple that Daphne is wearing here, feels more like a spring or summer color than an autumn one. But all right, let's be generous and perhaps a bit more abstract with it. Maybe this guy, who was never given a proper name in the film despite being one of the main suspects, was evaluating Daphne's personal color palette. Maybe he's saying that purple is a hue that looks best on people who are autumns, while he believes Daphne is a spring. The only problem, and it's so small, but none of that seems to line up either. Color seasons, as applied to people and fashion, began seeing intense popularity in the 1970s and 80s, specifically because there were breakthroughs in printing technology that allowed for the cheap mass production of accurate colors on the page. They weren't perfect reproductions, but they were close enough that people interested in personal color analysis felt confident publishing full-color books that demonstrated this concept better than was previously possible. This is one of those books, Color Me Beautiful by Carole Jackson. I quoted it earlier when I talked about people latching onto Itten's idea of subjective color for discovering one's natural color season. Discover your natural beauty through the colors that make you look great and feel fabulous. I think I will. But now I'm remembering something that Essie said earlier.
With cartoon characters, because they're being designed like skin, hair, and clothes all at the same time, it's really intentionally designed so we can kind of consume all of it as their natural coloring. So like Daphne wearing purple and green is part of her, you know what I mean?
I think I do know what she mean. So as someone brand new to color analysis, I want to challenge myself to see if I can find cartoon Daphne's personal color season, using only this book as my guide. And yeah, right from the opening pages, you see people divided into summer, winter, autumn, and spring. It's gonna be a lot to read up on. Thankfully, there's one element of Daphne's design we haven't talked about yet, and it's the trait that made this analysis mercifully easy for me. Her red hair. Control F searching for red hair in Jackson's book immediately cut my work in half, because I also have the ebook version. According to the author, almost every natural redhead is an autumn, but a few are springs, having coloring too delicate to handle the stronger autumn palette. So again, we've got this schism between fall and spring like we've been dealing with this whole time. Now, conveniently for us, Jackson shows whole color palettes for each season to help us lock in on what Daphne is. These are your 30 special colors, as the cover says. But what I find funny is that each season has their own sort of collection of purple that works for them, except fall. At one point in the book, Jackson even lists all the colors that work for each season in text form, and under the purple section for autumn, it just says no purple. It's the only one that says that. I'm working up a sweat under these lights. And when we compare cartoon Daphne to the spring palette, I think we've got a lot of matches going on all over the place here. The purple dress, the light green scarf, maybe even like the pink tights that she has going on. I would argue very strongly, this just looks right. But I'm remembering now that I don't have to argue anything. That's what Essie is here for. I don't know what I'm talking about.
So because she has warm, bright colors throughout her whole person, original Daphne we have here is a bright spring. Do you see that?
I do see it, yeah. Yes! Oh, I nailed it. God, I'm so sweaty right now. Just for the record, Essie also went through every other member of the gang and their color season along with the actors who played them, but I'm gonna upload that as a bonus for Patreon and Nebula supporters. It was super fascinating and way beyond what I had anticipated. She's the best. I'm so excited now. I wasn't expecting a whole presentation. This is great.
I don't know how to do it any other way, you know?
But there is one crucial moment that I need to play for you right now. I may have correctly identified cartoon Daphne's color season, but live action Daphne is a completely different story. I mean, for starters, the shade of purple she's wearing is drastically different from the cartoon, but also Sarah Michelle Gellar is not a natural redhead, so I can't even cheat like I did before. So what did Essie think?
Sarah Michelle Gellar is a soft autumn.
Okay.
Right? But they do a really good job with styling her to the point where she can pull off spring colors. So because they changed her hair color, her makeup, she's able to pull off these spring colors and look more like the original.
That's interesting.
But when he says this is a fall color, it's so funny because her real palette that technically reflects her own coloring the closest is a fall color, like fall coloring.
Yeah.
But she's dressing more like a spring. Does that make sense?
At this point, I have spent a month of my life researching this tiny, insignificant quip from a children's movie, only to come away with a better understanding of how completely inaccurate it is. Let's recap. Number one, color seasons are not tied to literal times of the year, but rather palettes harmonizing with a person's natural tones. Number two, even so, purple seems to be abundant in every other color season except fall, at least according to this book. We'll talk more about that in a second. But number three, even if purple was a hue reserved exclusively for folks with an autumn color season, Sarah Michelle Gellar is one of those people. And would you like to know another even twistier twist? Remember how I broke down this joke into two parts at the beginning of this video? Purple is a fall color. It's the middle of May. Now, we've sort of spent most of the video talking about this over here, but those two statements are not mutually exclusive. The middle of May is fall on an entire half of this planet. Every person who lives in the Southern Hemisphere cannot wait to point that out every time my meme goes semi-viral each year. And they're right to point it out, especially because the main setting of the Scooby-Doo movie was filmed on location at the Tangalooma Island Resort in Australia, meaning this scene takes place in a part of the world where his joke doesn't even make sense. Although, to be fair, we don't actually know the in-universe location of Spooky Island. The Coast Guard Tower is a real one in Australia, sure, but the guards inside are clearly American with several maps of Florida, so I don't know. And it also doesn't matter because the real downfall of this joke is not in the details as we've been discussing this whole video. Instead, it's in the premise alone. And this is when I have to confess something to you. So many years ago, when this channel was just starting to pick up steam, I was approached by a men's fashion company who offered to give me a test, like a style test, to figure out what my color season is. They offered to do this for free. I was never sponsored by them or anything. I don't even think I've mentioned them by name anywhere. I don't remember what their name is. To be completely honest, I don't even think they exist anymore, and I'm kind of glad they don't, because I was told that the colors I look best in are a navy blue, a bright red, and sort of a neutral gray. I don't even know what season that is, or if it just is a season. I think they were just bullshitting me, but I didn't know anything about fashion. I trusted their advice and their analysis, and those are the clothes that I bought. I mean, it went further than that. That is the color palette that I used for this channel. That's what I used in the branding of old NerdSync stuff. If you've been around on this channel for a long time, you know how much I have tried to incorporate bright reds and navy blues into all of the new branding that I do, and I've just never been happy with it, ever. But this is what I was told were the colors that look best on me. They were my colors, so I was going to use them for this channel, for this brand, me as a brand, so to speak, I guess. But then, like a year or two ago, I just thought, who the fuck cares? You know? Like, what am I doing? Purple is my favorite color. More than that, around the time I was having this sort of realization, I had come out publicly as bi. So more than ever, purple felt like an expression, a truer expression of who I am, more than the colors that were assigned to me by someone else. So that's why all my branding is purple now. I even made a new purple NerdSync intro that I've never used before, but maybe I will start if you like it. That jacket right there is the first piece of purple clothing I have ever owned. And I look damn good in it, all right? And I'm not the only one who thinks that. Do you believe in the idea of color seasons in fashion? Do you believe there's like a wrong color for someone to wear at a certain time of year? What are your insights here?
Sure. Well, first of all, we are now approaching the middle of May, and you are in fact wearing purple.
I'm wearing purple. I bought this specifically for this video too.
Oh, perfect. I love it. It's great. I definitely noticed.
You know I had to reach out to Parker for this one.
I'm Parker York Smith. I'm a Los Angeles-based content creator focused on fashion, casual stuff, dressy stuff, what to wear to a wedding, how to feel more confident, how to use the clothes you already have more effectively.
Yeah.
You know, just trying to make fashion more approachable and helping people boost their confidence with it.
Everybody tagged me in his videos about the modern Scooby-Doo gang because they're great. And I also agree with his philosophy about fashion rules. In fact, when I first reached out to him and asked him to be a part of this video, he said that he probably wouldn't be a good fit because he doesn't believe in the idea of personal color analysis and color seasons. And that just made me want to interview him more.
We've kind of fallen into this trend of color analysis that people are paying far too much money to have their personal color analysis done, and colors they should be leaning into and avoiding and this and that. And
yeah,
for me, I'm much more of a proponent of the mental side of it. I think if it makes you feel good, if you walk out the door or you go on screen or you go about your life and you feel good in what you're wearing, then you're doing it. Mm-hmm. I don't care what the calendar says.
When I got my own color analysis done years ago, I treated it as prescriptive. These are the colors that look best on me, apparently, and I should stick to these and avoid anything else. So I do see where Parker is coming from here. There definitely is a side of color seasons and personal color analysis that feels very restrictive, like it's trying to limit your expression and confine you to these strict rules, whereas he encourages everyone to be fashion rule breakers.
I certainly would not stand by anyone saying that you should restrict yourself from wearing something during a certain time, especially seasonally. Like, you know, we could get more granular with other examples of when you shouldn't wear pink to a funeral, maybe, or something, you know,
sure,
like that.
Yeah.
But like, you probably don't need to worry about wearing purple in May. In fact, especially a lighter, like almost, you know, slightly lighter purple like you're wearing, I think feels very appropriate. Feels very spring.
I promise that I didn't instruct him to keep complimenting my purple jacket, but I am going to keep all of the times he does in here because it makes me feel nice.
To me, I think color is a wonderful thing to start integrating, not so much even just for aesthetics, but just for how it makes you feel. You know, I think that a cool purple jacket or an interesting orange pair of pants or whatever the case may be, whatever fits within your comfort level is a really smart thing to try.
What's funny is that the people who do personal color analysis, at least the ones that I think are worth listening to, are folks like Essie, who kind of also agree with Parker here. Do you believe that there is like a wrong color for people to wear? Do you think that, you know, when you find your color season, like, you know, that's the rule that you should sort of stick with?
According to color seasons, there are wrong colors to wear. According to me, there are not, because just within color seasons, if you understand that the goal is melody, then technically anytime you're not dressing within melody, it's wrong. But I personally have plenty of colors that I like to wear that are outside of my color season because it creates a contrast or like friction. It just brings some visual interest. So I personally, I think it's wrong to say that there are wrong colors to wear. A lot of my job has to do with image consulting, which is kind of like solving these puzzles and finding out what exactly is best. I've just seen that so many people, their personal self-expression is not what's technically best with their coloring, because I didn't choose my colors. Like technically the fact that I have blue eyes and brown hair does not convey anything about my personality. I can make it if I want to, but the colors that we wear are how we actually bring in ourselves, you know?
It almost feels like a sort of shortcut or like cheat sheet of just like, if I don't want to put a lot of effort into my other looks today, if I can just wear something that makes everything sort of pop in the right way, then...
Absolutely, yeah. It's definitely a hack. And it's like, you don't need to take a shortcut every time you're getting dressed, but if you feel like it, it does help, you know?
Yeah, I like it. Personal color analysis is merely a tool that you can use if you like to help you feel more confident. But if, like me, it has the opposite effect, where I felt anxious about going outside of the colors that were assigned to me, even though I really wanted to try other things, then you don't have to follow it. You are fully allowed to break those rules. No one's gonna arrest you for a fashion crime. Joan Rivers has been dead for years.
When it comes to color, I mean, it is just art and theory. So what's good is completely subjective.
And that's just it, isn't it? It's art, it's theory, and it's subjective. I mean, that's literally how this whole thing started with Itten. And he states clearly in The Art of Color his thesis for personal subjective color.
If you, unknowing, are able to create masterpieces in color, then unknowledge is your way. But if you are unable to create masterpieces in color out of your unknowledge, then you ought to look for knowledge.
So all of that to say that this meme that I made from a single joke in a 20-year-old children's movie is technically wrong for a lot of reasons. I'm still gonna post this meme every year as a tradition, but in an effort to combat the misinformation from this dastardly, inaccurate, misleading joke, James, I will also now be posting this video directly under it to address everyone's criticisms in the replies. But they are valid criticisms, including the fact that I didn't even touch on this. Purple doesn't exist. Like, it's a color that we only perceive in our minds, but it's not actually real. I told you I went so deep on this video, and I had to cut so much out because my search history was just getting preposterous, and I didn't know what to believe. In fact, there's breaking scientific research that proposes we start tuning telescopes to look for the color purple out in space. Because if there is alien life out there, they're almost certainly not going to be little green or gray humanoids. The research suggests, rather, the screen is off so I don't mess with the lighting, but it suggests that the organism that can thrive in a vast range of conditions is purple bacteria. So if we are going to find life outside of Earth, it might actually be purple. Let's just hope it's not this guy. That study, by the way, was reported on by 4 outlets last month, but it seems almost unbelievable to me that I wanted to make sure that I felt comfortable citing a trustworthy source. So I had to find the publication with the best record of reporting facts accurately. In this case, it was SciTech Daily, which is listed as having a factuality rating of high compared to the other publications that had mixed factuality. And this information is super simple to find thanks to today's sponsor, Ground News, a website and app designed to help you pull back the curtain on media bias. For this story, you can see the reporting bias of every outlet, compare every headline, and even read every article without ever leaving the app. In fact, that idea of comparing headlines is super useful for this story specifically. It shows the minor but critical spins each publication put on this story. For example, The Independent is the only one that doesn't use the term alien life, but simply uses aliens, which to me conjures up a more sensational Star Trek-style intelligent being compared to what it actually is, which is single-celled organisms. Every story comes with a quick visual breakdown of the political bias, factuality, and ownership of the source's reporting, all backed by ratings from 3 independent news monitoring organizations. One of the features that I personally love about Ground News is the ability to copy and paste a URL of an article that you're currently reading into the search bar here. Hey, look, CBS reported that archaeologists in England just dug up an incredibly rare purple dye the other day. So let's paste this article into Ground News. And hey, look, we can see CBS News's media bias, factuality ratings, and ownership for some additional context as we read. Ground News is a fantastic tool for sifting through the daily misinformation and bias. They provide all the tools you need to be a critical thinker, and I cannot highly recommend it enough. In fact, I believe that Ground News is so useful that I'm offering you 40% off of their Vantage subscription. You can only access this discount through my link, so go to ground.news/NerdSync, or click the link in the video description to support an independent news organization. By doing so, you can support an independent news platform working to make the media landscape more transparent. Once again, that's groundnews.com/NerdSync or the link in the description below. I also have to give a massive thanks to Essie Priest and Parker York Smith for being a part of this video. Their insights were just so valuable. Links to all of their socials will be in the description, and their full interviews will be up exclusively on Patreon and Nebula for people who support me and my videos. I said this in the last video, but support on Patreon would really mean a lot to me right now. Either way, my name is Scott, reminding you to explore your favorite art through curiosity and vulnerability. See ya.